This is a Steam Gentleman special presentation. You know how excited you used to get when you saw that on CBS, when they would play that little card there for you. Everyone would get those little tingles in your stomach, and you would remember when the Star Wars Holiday Special was going to air. But that's what we got going on here. We have descended real quick in lightning fast, blitzkrieg style, getting down into the steam tunnels. Gonna get the introductions off the right out of the way right off the bat. I am Josh, aka the Birdman, down here, gaveling this meeting to order in real quick fashion. Let me go around the Zoom room here. I got the three of clubs as always. My right hand man, part of the Geek Triumvirate, Rashawn Smith. How we doing this morning?
What it do? Howdy do? I have been fired up for today like a Friday before a sleepover back in the day in elementary school. I know it's going to be nothing but straight up pizza, soda that I don't normally get to drink, all the candy in the world. This is going to be a blast. I am so excited.
Limited supervision.
And limited supervision. Exactly. This is going to be so fun. Thank you so much.
And it's perfect that this is the day after Halloween too here. As I continue around here, I'm going to bring you around to the Star Child, our very own Greg DeSense. Sound off, my brother. How you doing today?
I couldn't be more excited. I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan. My son is a massive Dragon Ball Z fan. He was one of those kids who ran with his arms out kind of behind him. That's how much of a Dragon Ball Z fan he is.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
I didn't even have to send him a link or anything for you. I just said your name and he knew exactly who you were.
That's crazy. I still find that to be so, and I just never thought I'd ever achieve any kind of fame like this, whatever it is. I don't really feel famous, but for somebody to recognize me by my name, being a voice actor, is crazy. It's very humbling and wow.
Actually, you could actually, he looked at me like an idiot for not knowing, but
that's always a special feeling when your son looks at you like that. That is
come on, Dad. Geez.
What's wrong with you? Oh my God.
Since we've got you in here, Stephanie, why don't you introduce yourself to the Steam people? We'll let you introduce yourself coming on in on this special Dragon Ball Z edition here of the Steam Gentleman.
Steam Gentleman, I like it. It's steam heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm my name is Stephanie Nadolny. I am a voice actor and singer and all around performer, entertainer of any and all styles. Most of you listeners may know me as the OG voices of Kid Goku and Gohan from Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, as well as of various others, including Is Kai, oh my, Baby Trunks, and KO from OKKO, Let's Be Heroes.
I just got chills. That is just so fantastic.
You were East Kai?
Oh yeah, crazy, totally wacky deal there. I showed up for my own session working as Gohan, and the director was there and had already chosen somebody, but said, you know what, let's try something wacky with this. What do you think this character would sound like? And I just went nuts with it and got the part of East Kai. It was a smaller role, but all the same, it's great I like to challenge myself to sound like completely different characters when I am voice acting.
I was gonna say that one's special. That one, it stands out from the other ones. So
yeah,
I'd love to see you in the booth doing her.
I'm the queen. I'm the gold. Oh my! So we had some fun with that.
Well, this is a thrill for us. A long time back when we first started, we did an episode. We titled it "Think I'm Turning Japanese," and we talked about anime and kind of the interesting overlay and effect it had on our generation. Really. Just the artist, just how it was an artwork coming out of Japan and then took off really much more in the mainstream in the US than I think anyone thought it would. And just how it affected us culturally. We grew up in an age, of course, with videotapes and collecting as much anime as you could. You had to, you had to be cool. You had to have this, this particular set. You had to have this particular cut, make sure it was in the original Japanese and not dubbed sometimes other ways you want to have the different voice actors. But how a couple of questions for you to start off. How did you get into voice acting to begin with? And what was the impetus for that for you?
Well, as a child, like I said, I was very immersed in music. Both of my mom and my father, they were really young parents, and they had my brother, and then I came along three years later, and we were always. That's one thing, we didn't have a lot, but we always had good music to listen to, and always had at least a television. And so I did get to grow up with cartoons and be silly and try to imitate the voices, and I just started doing that my first memories are of doing just that, trying to sound like my brother, or laughing like somebody on a cartoon I watched, whether it be the Smurfs or something, Looney Tunes, Mel Blanc, anything and everything. And so I did it just because I was just an extremely silly child. I'm still silly. I'm crazy silly, like dad joke silly, whatever you want to call it. I'm cheesy, but I just did that because I enjoyed it and I liked it. And I, from a young age, just had this ear. Like, I picked up on music, picked up piano, started playing it by ear. And then I found myself giving concerts on the merry-go-round in daycare. And so I'd stand in the middle of in the merry-go-round, which those do not exist anymore for obvious reasons. So dangerous. Oh my God. So dangerous. And the big tall slides, 20 feet high. Yeah. Anyway. So I started giving these concerts at school, and the instructors thought that was really quite funny. So that's my first memories of putting on a show and entertaining those around me. And of course, I got into a little bit of comedy and improv, and started, singing in the play, whatever play or production was going on at whatever school I was at the time, because we moved a lot every couple of years. That's what I was just naturally attracted to. So anything involving the voice. I started making up my own radio shows with a friend of mine when we were about 11, 12 years old. So I'd carry around my little cassette player and record our our own shows, our own voices with different, she would interview me and then I would interview her, and we go back and forth, and we came up with a theme song and everything. And then as I got older, I just did anything and everything involving performance, whether it's community theater, tryouts for this or that, talent shows, anything and everything I could. The hardest part was just being ripped from school to school, starting at around age 4. I think we moved maybe 9 times between the age of 4 and 16. So I never really got to develop any solid roots. I was constantly being uprooted. So it was really, really hard to navigate life growing up like that in small towns and not really fitting in. And then having this crazy, insane, God-given talent that, was seen as, as kind of a threat to the other girls I was going to school with. Certainly didn't mean for it to, but that's just what I did. That's what I've loved my whole life. So the voice acting actually came much later, after I got involved in a lot of live performing with a show band called Vince Vance and the Valiants. And we had 3 girl singers, and it was a 50s to the 90s musical review, like Sha Na Na meets B-52s. And once I joined, I was in college at the time, but once I joined that band, I never looked back. As much as I wanted to get a degree and I had planned on getting one, I was doing what I love and making a living. So I never looked back. And so once I got into that whole arena of the most amazing musicians ever, and at least in our region in Texas, that's when I met another band called Brave Combo, and the leader of that band had me working on his own original music. He wanted to put my voice on a lot of his material. So we cut an album at around 96, 97. And it was called The Cookies, about to try to get some of that stuff up on, it's never been released. And then I met producers from Funimation behind the scenes working in the studio. So the voice acting audition came to fruition, doing everything that I absolutely love, which is singing and recording and singing background vocals on albums. And Vince Vance and the Valiants, we were doing albums as well, but he was putting out original music. So, I mean, I got in the studio, and then I was just in the industry. And when you're immersed in the industry, especially, in a big city like Dallas, Fort Worth, there's definitely more opportunities, especially 20, 25 years ago than there was, now. So being a big city helped. So staying put is what I've done ever since I had a choice. I'm like, I'm not moving ever again, ever. But now I have. It's funny we're talking about this because we're packing and moving literally like now, like all over the last weeks. And the next after that, we're moving again. So, oh my Lord.
I'm sorry to hear that because I have some sympathy. I didn't move as far as you, but I stayed in Mass, but I moved a bunch, so I
Right.
just know the difficulties involved, just as far as
It just makes you want to throw everything away. You don't want
Absolutely.
you want to throw. I don't. It's like, what? Why do I have all this stuff? Where does this come from? And then it's just a mess. But you do find things that you've lost, which is kind of cool.
Oh, there you
I've
go.
been finding. I found a whole box full of like some of my first Dragon Ball Z memorabilia, like the little trading cards from like the year 99 and 2000, and when we were on the Hummer tour with the Dragon Ball Z. Score Entertainment took us around, so I found some of those, and those are actually worth quite a bit, being that they're much older. They've got, they're like antiques. My niece is 23, and so she's the one that turned me on to all that. She's like, she was helping me clean out boxes, and she said, "Look at these! Oh, wow!" And now she's into anime. Her boyfriend's into anime, and now they're like, "That's what my silly aunt was doing all those years with all those." Like it all came together. It's like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. That's my aunt right there.
That's awesome. You clearly do what you love and got to do what you love, which is fantastic. That really shows through. From your description there, I just want to say that you started podcasting before there was podcasting, what you were describing doing with your friend
exactly.
on tape,
I didn't know the vocabulary around it, but that's just what we did. And I mean, I could just do that for hours and hours and just laugh till we would just belly laugh over the silly stuff that we were talking about, and just make it really interesting, creative way to dive into a business of where you like. So some people do that and they end up going into radio, or they go into jingles, or they, for me, it was singing, dancing, acting, and everything in between. So I was kind of ready to do it all. And that was a big part of developing my voice and listening back and really hearing the nuances that are very intricate, and not everybody has that ability. And I'm real hard on myself. If I don't think I'm nailing a voice, or I did okay. So that was really good. It's like, but it has to be good enough for me to really feel like it's exactly like that, a voice or another, voice actor or cartoon character.
Because listening to your voice now, so I'm thinking of all of the kind of internal, just contortions that are going on for you to sound like Kid Goku, and then you scream. So you can do
a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of yelling in Dragon Ball Z.
I didn't know that when I got Captain Gohan.
So to be able to do that, and
right,
still script, like, wow, that's some serious throat focus.
I really was practicing without realizing what I was practicing for when I was a child, because I was very vocal. Yes, I was a little girl, the youngest, and I did whine like kids do, like little girls, little boys, whatever, we whine, and when I'd get in trouble, or I'd get sent to my room and I would cry because I didn't like being trapped in my room. But then I would start vocalizing. I would be crying, like really genuinely upset that I'm in my room, and next thing you know, I'm yodeling and I'm like, and doing all these crazy noises. And I remember my mom would come around the corner and go, "What are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be miserable. You're in trouble. Stop it." But I was like right there, right at the doorway, right at the line. Like, I'm in my room. I'm still in my room. And I would just vocalize and sing. And yeah. So.
I'm going to stop you there, just because I have two boys, and my younger son loves to make lots of voices. He totally whines all the time. And boy, man, can he modulate when he's crying and his pitches. Yes. So I think we're gonna have to talk after. Maybe you can, I can put you on Zoom with him next time.
Okay.
Send him to his room,
and we can maybe
channel this
in the
positive direction.
Too. I love children, so it's kind of interesting that I'm in voice acting for cartoons, which that's perfect, doing character voices and being silly and hopefully making kids laugh. Well, of course, Dragon Ball Z, you've got fans of all ages, but that's a big part of it for me, is getting out to these Comic-Cons and seeing these kids and families relate and talk to us about me or whoever I'm with, their memories of running home from school, or whenever they watched it with their brothers and sisters or their father. It's really getting in the trenches face to face with the fans is just so rewarding.
Because you do a lot of conventions, right?
I do. That's really honestly my focus right now.
There's so many right now, right?
I think, yes. And I mean, honestly, I'm not saying this to sound like, self-pity or woe is me at all, but I thought that I was old news. I mean, I figured, hey, I did this stuff a long time ago. if people still, there's still a calling for me to come and sign autographs, 20 something years later. Because I had people in the industry going, man, I never see you around. And I'm like, well, I'm just working on my music and I'm trying to write songs and I'm still making a living doing some other voice stuff. But I just figured the pop culture Comic-Cons were really more for, people that are in the industry right now, like putting out something new right now. And I'm amazed to find that that's not always it. There's a nostalgia behind Dragon Ball Z as far as the franchise goes. And that's been a huge eye opener for me, especially over the past 4 or 5 years, is that because I'm being contacted and asked to be a guest, and there's all kinds of comic book stores and venues and in and out of everywhere. I mean, and I've got a whole anime, Comic-Con family that I'm, in touch with now. They're like we're all social media buds, and we see each other and we support and encourage each other. And so for me, it's just that's just such a blessing. It's like what a bonus to coming out of the pandemic, not being able to work really at all because our band had to shut down. But that there's still people. These Funko Pops, they want they want them signed. They have their own artwork. They have their posters. Of course, I bring a whole bunch of different cool posters and prints on my table and set everything out. And I've got like a little banner and it's a branding thing, I guess, and I feel
and
I'm making hay while the sun's shining is really honestly what I'm doing. But
it's been like
every minute of it.
Popularity of the show. It's been like 30 years. Like it is only because I know that age range of Dragon Ball Z fans. I know them, and now a lot of them are in their 30s and 40s. It's a chunk of their lives.
Yes. And then they say they grew up with it. So
they were Goku for a good portion of their lives.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see that completely. And I'm just I'm glad he's a boy. He was a boy hero and he was fighting the good fight. So it's kind of fun to channel a little boy. It's a superhero, he doesn't know he's one, but he is. Yeah. And I had brothers. I had 2 step brothers and a brother. And I was kind of like, I was really just the oddball. Not only was I the only girl, child in the family, girl, that I had just different interests and stuff. But I was able to channel a lot of my references for characters, even if it's just side, characters, villagers, women screaming. I was able to utilize my family and my distant family and aunts and uncles and cousins to kind of come up with different voices so that they sound completely unique. So, and that is one thing that Funimation did, and probably to this day, Crunchyroll, the voices, really need to sound completely different from the other voices so that you don't get confused in what you're listening to.
Kid Goku, I mean, I don't know. It was a special kind of hero. And Goku is a special kind of hero. Like, he doesn't seem to take any situation very seriously. And I absolutely love that about him. He's a little, actually, if I want to say, Kid Gohan was a little more serious than him because of just how the story ended up working out.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like, that Cell saga. You got snubbed by the Academy for that.
Oh my gosh, I know, right?
Academy snub.
I just can't believe I was able to do that. I mean, I really just showed up to work. It was like sometimes we'd come in once a week, sometimes maybe once every 3 months. It just depended on your line count, what your character needed, what they needed to put together whatever episodes at the time. It was a small company back in the day, small company, one person doing each job, and then it just kind of slowly grew and built from there. And now it's ginormous. And now I'm on the outside looking and going, don't forget about me, as I'm trying to get back in auditioning and stuff. But it's like, it's so been a whirlwind. There's a lot of talent, a lot of competition. Which is great. May the best man win. As far as if you get the role, it's up to the director to choose. So yeah. But yeah, right now I'm really focusing a lot on the Comic-Cons and planning, buying flights, setting up rental cars. Throughout the day, stuff like this, interviews. I write back to all of my fans. If it's not right away, I definitely have I have a fan club email. I get a lot of kiddos wanting to go into voice acting, and then I can't promise them anything, but I can definitely give them a little advice, and it kind of helps fill that void of being the nurturing mom that I never got to be.
Mhm.
In fact, I lost my mother right after I got cast as Gohan that same year.
Wow.
And yeah, she was pretty young. She's my age when she passed. So it's crazy how real life back behind the scenes, there's all kinds of things going on in everybody's lives. And you really honestly don't know what anyone's really battling. So this whole Gohan Cell saga is something I could kind of channel as like Goku was my mom in the back saying, you can do this. You need to fight. You need to stay, focused on all the good things that you're doing and that you can do and to not give up. So it's weird how that happened. It wasn't, when I was doing the work, I wasn't thinking about it at all like that. But looking back at it and watching the scenes, I'm like, my gosh.
And that just explains that other extra layer of intensity that kind of changed.
Well, and then
especially
there's
at the end of
those
that saga, yeah.
cracks. There's those nuances in the screaming, even like these cracks where it almost sounds like the throat is just going to explode. Like the vocal cords are just going to just split in half. It's like, and to be able to achieve that, I was definitely going through just an unbelievable amount of grief. My mom was my everything. So having lost her, right at such a crucial time in my career, I'd already been singing with a show band for about 10 years, but then I got that role. And then I was, I was in and off out on the road, been back and forth trying to see her as much as I could. And then, so I'm glad I had that way to channel it, because I didn't know how else to kind of deal with a grief that deep and that quickly and suddenly at
Oh my God.
a young age.
I can't wait to share that story. That was amazing. I can't wait to share that story because it's, a lot of people's favorites, and 2 friends of mine and my son, easily their favorite.
Oh, wow.
Easily their favorite. Oh yeah. Oh, the debates have been long into the morning. It happens.
Well, I had plenty of male, references in my life, a mean stepdad. I had my dad. I had I don't know. I basically just took my voice as low as it could possibly go and then just beat it out, and that's how we came up with the voice. Cause I didn't even know this was just going to work. I was touring constantly 250, 300 days a year. I was on the road traveling on a tour bus and we didn't know where we were going to sleep or eat. I was full blown touring. Like I'm talking sleeping on the airport floors. And so, but I was a youngster, we were in our 20s and that's just what you did. Nobody,
of course,
but I would come back in town and do these sessions and I was constantly using my voice. So it really wasn't, I don't want to say that it was easy, but it was just, you go to work and you follow direction and they tell you when to scream, how to scream, how long to scream. And then you do it however many more times until they get what they need. And then everything gets, fixed in post as far as all the sound effects and everything. But once I got used to it, it was just kind of like, I go to work. This is what you do. And then I was just really glad that I got to play Gohan, not only as a child, but up through the Cell saga before he goes back to school and things change. And then the voice therefore was given to Kyle Bear.
Oh, did you
the adult Gohan?
Yeah. Did you have a favorite? I mean, I don't know how big a fan of anime you are. Like how big?
Right.
Are you a big anime fan?
I don't want to say I'm not, because I enjoy watching when people send me clips of stuff, or if it's somebody that I know in the industry and I want to kind of hear what they do with their voice and if I know the people behind the scenes, I'll watch it, but as a rule, not really. I stay really busy. Like I said, we're moving. I mean, I'm traveling. I'm constantly, I'm kind of been my own agent. I'm picking up the phone. I'm hustling the work. I'm like, let's do this kind of thing. And I'm venturing out into some of the trenches lately, small, little, tiny towns where a lot of little kids, don't really have anything to do. And I'm finding these places that are safe places for kids to go. I know that when I was growing up and being new all the time, I got involved with the church and I hung around with friends that we had a great youth group. And then we had a youth place where we could go play video games and pool, and we have snack bar, it's because there's that age right there with kids. About 11 to 15, there's some serious stuff that can go the wrong way. I mean, as you all very well, you can really get steered the wrong direction or get pulled into the wrong crowd. You got a lot of angst. You're going through puberty. This is girls and boys, obviously. I remember going through it myself. And so I think that it's an honor to really feel like I helped kiddos that were struggling, and this needed to be. They needed an escape to keep them off the roads or off the streets or away from drugs or alcohol or whatever, all those things that kids do when they, get into high school. And so it's heartwarming because I don't have children. I wanted children and I wasn't able to have any. I had some issues with all of that, and a lot of things fell away that, that didn't happen. So I'm filling that void with my amazing fans and all of their kids. And it's very heartwarming. And so I don't know if I'm one of the few, but from what I can tell, I don't limit myself as far as appearances and stuff. I mean, I don't just, I don't get out of bed for less than blah, blah, blah. And I will only go to New York and LA. Like, that's just not in my vocabulary at all. I will go anywhere. I will work. I will travel. I will ride a bike to get there too. Cause I'm loving it so much. It's helping me, fight my own damn demons, fight against my own inner struggles with loss and grief and pain and whatever we all go through stuff.
No, yeah, that's fantastic. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Good reflection, or a good way to reflect good things to others.
Yes. And I feel like now I got to ask you this question: 3 greatest R&B singers of all time.
Oh yeah, I get to pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we do here. You get.
Are you just saying R&B? Are you just saying R&B just because you guys know I absolutely love and adore Donna Summer?
Yeah, part of it.
There you go. We talked about it.
If you want to toss in disco, go for it.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Well, it's gonna be. Hang on one second. What was that?
Say if you want to toss in.
I was thinking about that before I give you my answers. My R&B station that I normally listen to has been giving me mixed signals. And so whenever I'm listening to it, I don't know whether to get down on it or get up off of that thing. Dad joke. Mom
love
joke.
it.
I love it because I suck at dad jokes. So that was fantastic.
It's like get up off that thing, get down on it. It's like shake the booty. What am I supposed to be doing here all at one time? So
but I'm the dad joke guy here. I can definitely, and you're all right. You're doing just fine.
If you can make people laugh and it doesn't have to be, censored or, use profanity. That's pretty cool. You have to admit, especially once you pass you're into your 20s and 30s, then you're like, come on, that's like you said, not take yourself so seriously. And I love the dad jokes. Those are great. But that's a really hard question for me to narrow down. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily say R&B in general, because I just have favorite vocalists. That might not necessarily be R&B, but of course, Donna Summer tops the list by far. And then as far as other vocalists that's not necessarily R&B, but I love Freddie Mercury. I absolutely love his voice. He's just mesmerizingly talented.
Big chops.
Yes. And then of course, I like the band ABBA, and there's such great singers, and it was like a musical. It was like this they did make a musical out of ABBA. Yep. ABBA, what we say. So I really liked those voices because when I was in musical theater, that's kind of the sound that I would try to emulate is the 2 lead singers of ABBA. Ooh. And so I really got into that. And then, I grew up on Amy Grant. But gosh, you're putting me on the spot because I just have albums and CDs.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
So
you're doing
much
fantastic.
You're doing great.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you just have to hear. But then I also like Toto, Chicago, some of those really hot, amazing, solid '80s rock bands.
Yeah, Steve Winwood.
Yeah, all of that good stuff too.
Okay, yeah.
Steve Winwood, Michael McDonald, like these
Michael McDonald.
You cannot leave these off these are just there. They are staples, man.
Yes. You don't know me, but I'm your brother. Is that the radio? No. And Pink Floyd. My brother listened to Pink Floyd and Van Halen, and so I got a whole I just got a wide variety of everything. My dad loved the Beatles. My mom liked the oldies and Neil Diamond, Barbra Streisand. My stepdad liked old country. So you throw Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, Olivia Newton-John. Oh gosh, I can't believe I haven't said her for sure. She's in my top 3. Olivia Newton-John.
I have to say that getting ready for this, I was really trying to put on my big boy pants, and I wrote down questions for you. Like I was thinking about this all day. No,
Okay.
but you're such a fantastic interview. You've been answering most of the questions without me even asking them. I mean,
you got to keep that mute. Keep that mute handy. I feel like I'm in school and I'm getting in trouble for talking.
Not at all. Oh, not at all. No, it's been so fantastic just hearing you talk. One question though, a little bit about your process. Were you technically trained? I happened to just yesterday, coincidentally, because it was Halloween, I was listening to our local NPR station, and they replayed an old interview with a woman named Mercedes McCambridge, who most people don't know who she is, but you might just from your background do that. But she did the voice of the demon in The Exorcist. So, which is just, such a big role. And at the time she was a smoker. She was drinking. She actually had stopped drinking and started again for that role just to get like these sound effects.
Yes, raspy.
She was describing some of the raspy things she could do and some of the wheezing she could do. And and things like that. Just, of course, for this interview on NPR. But I'm just curious, because Greg mentioned the screaming and all the different things you're doing, you're changing genders, you're going back and forth, you're doing unique voices for all the background. Mm-hmm. Were you trained in a particular method? Was there a way you found? Did you just start to develop your own? I just was curious about how that process worked for you.
That's a good question. Really good one. Like I said, I was always utilizing my voice. I mean, in any capacity, it wasn't just singing in the shower. I was like singing songs into a cassette player and listening back and sing it back before YouTube and all of this computer stuff. All we had were karaoke cassette tapes, and we would sing along with them, or you could go to the places in the mall where they let you practice once and then you record it the second time and hopefully you get it. That was a dream for me to do stuff like that. So I just was using my voice all the time. I was constantly honing the mimicking skills, really trying to sound like, Bubba Smurf, or whatever the voice is. That I remember just trying to, Mickey Mouse and The Simpsons and I think that's such a good idea. It's all horror, and I just beavis and butthead. I mean, I'm all over the place here, but anything honestly, from crying to, I found a creative way to use my voice when I was in my room crying and writing a song. And then I got into poetry. So then I started writing, songs and poems. And then I started keeping a journal. And so I had all these ways of, to express myself. And so if there was something going on where I could utilize my voice, I would do it. And I just had to get over my stage fright from, kind of being a new girl and being, intimidated by the other, singers and the other kind of girls and that were kind of picking on me a little, which is what, that's what kids do. Right. I guess we all kind of go through that, but, I would just, audition for anything and everything, whether it was a talent show or a community theater, or that it got into pom pom and drill team. I took some dance lessons, ballet and tap lessons as a little kid, baton, anything and everything that involved entertainment. I was literally building my own life resume without realizing it. I was just kind of doing what I wanted to do. But looking back at it now, as time has gone so fast, I still feel like I'm like on my way somewhere, and I haven't hit anything big yet. That's in my own brain, because I don't want to limit myself. But in some ways, I think I did limit myself with my self-esteem issues and moving around and never knowing where to fit in, or am I going to stay here, make friends and move again, So, but in everything I was involved with involved performance, involved any of my extracurricular activities. Once I was in the show band, I started choreographing for the other girls and mentoring girls to come into the band. And I kept getting talked back into going back into the band and traveling again, because I was just had such a passion for it. But I wasn't really I did choir and I did show choir, and I did take some voice lessons for a couple of years, and then I got into piano, was playing the piano, and then I did some voice and drama classes in college. So I did some movement classes, which is more for stage theater acting, and of course I was just naturally better at the musicals. So whenever they'd have a big, audition for something really serious, it's like, I didn't have a chance. I tried. There's so many other good actors there. And I'm just like, I guess I'll, stick to my musicals. And it's like, people will say we're in love, and just sing and dance and just embrace it. So I never really, it didn't come natural.
I still remember traveling out to SUNY Albany to see my sister in West Side Story. So don't bring down the musicals whatsoever.
Nice.
She play Maria. That was still something I know she remembers, and she listens to the show too. So hopefully I'll get a smile from her, or at least a good memory from that. So, don't run down the musicals. I think it's fantastic.
And I remember learning amazing. A lot of really a lot of my vocal, the strength and the stamina behind my voice definitely came from musical theater, because we were literally on stage performing with no microphones, projecting. And I'd listen to and look up to other actors and actresses that were older than me, because I remember being in the plays in the summertime in Durant, Oklahoma. They had a Shakespearean theater group and they had some for kids too. So we got to audition for the big plays, and we got to be in the plays with all the adults and the college kids. And I would just be mesmerized by the talent, just listen. And then I'd get the soundtrack, and then I'd go home and sing it. And it started with Annie, when I was a little girl. I saw Annie in London when my mom took me to London. And I was walking out of there belting at the top of my lungs, and my mom's like, shush, shush. I just had found my dream. So I was a handful. I still am, but I mean well. When I can channel it in the right ways, man, look out. Here I go,
I can tell you, we think you're absolutely wonderful. You are so responsive, because we met purely by chance as we started this little endeavor, and you liked one of our posts, and then I happened to notice your name and like followed down a rabbit hole and said, "Wait a second."
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm a mom. I'm telling you, I don't have kiddos, but I am a mom. I am my mom, really, because she was just nurturing everybody. Nobody was ever hungry around her. So I feed people. And I'm like, if I see somebody in need, I'm like, I got to be your mom, holding the babies or holding people's kids and stuff. So I find a lot of joy in getting on the internet and encouraging everybody that I see. Right. Just, yes, you can do it. Because I didn't get some of that from being bullied. And I would never want to be that way to anybody else. I just would only want nothing but love and acceptance and encouragement coming from me, because there's enough of horrible things in the world, and we're all in a fallen world, and there's a lot of chaos. And so the last thing I would want to do is contribute to that, or,
I don't think there's any danger of that. Just from this first time speaking to you, we had communicated all on Messenger prior to this, and I would think there's absolutely no danger of this. I know you're out there working very hard. I think you're doing a great job. I'm really glad to hear you're getting all the love from the fans that you are, because I think you absolutely deserve it.
Out of the blue. I remember one time, not to keep going too long with this, but I was in a car accident. It was right after I got cast as Gohan. About a year after that, I was in a severe car accident on the way to Funimation to record. It was like 10 in the morning. And somebody had cut me off, and my car went spinning around in the highway. And then a giant tractor trailer smacked me in the front. And then I went for, I don't remember how, 70 or 80 feet pushed with, 18-wheeler right in my face. And I'm like, this is it. I think I'm not going to survive this. And so this is back when I first got email. I mean, this was a long time. I don't think I even had a computer. I mean, I had just gotten maybe my first computer. It was just like some old computer that somebody gave me, or, and I was just flooded with all of these emails from fans, telling they had heard that I was in a bad car accident. And I just got all of this love that came out of nowhere. And I was single. I was living by myself in my first home, which I'm moving back into now. I was just, alone, and just gone through this horrible accident, and I had to buy another car. And anyway, so it's amazing what one person can do. You can really make a difference in somebody's life. And when you might not even think you're really doing, just saying something, being a good example, and being kind, without looking for anything in return,
So, speaking of making a difference, I'm absolutely fascinated in talking about making a change in someone's life without meaning to do it. I'm really fascinated behind the story behind you and your mom going to London. If you wouldn't mind expanding on that for a little bit, because it seems obviously very integral to your development and your growth towards, even at the time, as you point out multiple times, your hidden path.
Uh-huh.
but definitely a path that has found your passion. And it seems like that is one
Oh,
hell
yeah.
of a catalytic moment that I've been wrapped around since you said, and you
It
kind
was
of just slipped it in.
It's my 8th birthday, and my mom worked as worked at British Caledonian Airways. We were living in Houston, and my mom and my dad had split up, and then my mom remarried a year or two later. And then all of a sudden there's a whole new dynamic in the house, and I'd never really gotten to go anywhere with my mom, but it was me, my brother, and my mom, and we were only there 2 days and 3 nights, I think. And she took me to see Annie, and I was completely starstruck by Annie on a stage. And I was like, any little girl that sees Annie wants to be Annie. And so I just embraced it. And it was a lot. I think I was a sweet kid. I was super loving and over the top sweet, but I had a lot of energy, a lot of creative energy. And my mom was really, I think, the only one that really understood that about me. And that was, she absolutely adored me and wanted me to do well and be successful. And just learning to live as a better person through her example is really big with me, especially having, lost her so suddenly. And right when my career was really taking off. So, but that was a special trip. I always thought I'd be, pushing her around in a wheelchair one day, taking care of her. And so I think the best thing I can do is just live a good life. And that could be a legacy left from her through me.
Thank you for sharing that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She was fun. She was a ball of energy and laughing and smiling. Everybody loved my mom.
Well, I can tell you that, I think you're doing a great job with that. I know we literally just met, but, I'm so impressed with everything you're saying and everything you've brought to this interview. We really appreciate it. You've brought an amazing ray of sunshine. Plus, we're all Northeasterners. We're all Northeasterners. So,
my goodness.
Yeah. Crabby, you're
come on down here to Texas. Yeah. Okay, good for you. You want gravy on those taters, honey? You want gravy? All right, then. I'll be right back. Sugar pie. Sweet
I knew she was hiding something. I know.
We wouldn't know what to do.
I do have some kin in Dallas, so.
Yeah. Good. Well, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee, originally. So
I lived in Nashville for a little bit.
I love Tennessee. That's great.
I can say that is my favorite style barbecue, by the way. I know that you're in Texas, but Tennessee barbecue, that's the real barbecue.
It's people, so delicious. Yes,
it is. It's the sauce is optional in Tennessee barbecue, right? And that's the way I cook. So much
flavor already.
Absolutely. That's the way I cook. I want lots of flavor. And it's like, if you want to put it on,
by
fine.
people and never been in North Carolina.
All right.
I've been there with my band to go to some party. We were probably playing festivals, parties, clubs, but we got around. We definitely got around, and it was really fun to be able to see the world and travel. As I still love to travel, but to really get out and about in my 20s and 30s and really just take it all in was such an eye-opening experience. And from how I was raised, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, here we are. We're in New Orleans, and it's Mardi Gras. Now it's New York, and then it was a great experience. I highly recommend young people, if they have any way to travel, get to know other people, other people's cultures, other people's traditions and languages, because I think it just offers a better understanding of people, interacting in general. So
I hear you
completely.
Similar to you, my mom took me on some international trips when I was younger. It stuck with me. It definitely changed my perspective on humanity as a whole. Mm-hmm. And also similar to you, I had 4 elementary schools before I even hit middle school. So I hear you on the movement and moved across the country. I know the throes of what you're talking about. And, and you just being kept the new kid.
The new kid. And some people love the new kid and some people hate the new kid. It's like, you was like, what's going on here? I mean, but you're still, trying to figure out who you are when you're 12. I mean,
right.
12 and 13, I mean, I definitely it was a lot easier for me to move around as a kid, as a very young kid. As I got older, I started making more solid attachments to my friends. And I mean, I've even gone so far as to having attachments to the people that were mean to me, the bullies. I don't know. It just feels natural for me. Here we are years later. It's like, you got to forgive these people. You got to forgive them. I laugh at it now. I'm like, remember the time whenever you stuck that thing in my locker and it exploded? And like, I remember all these stories. And they're like, God, we were really hard on you, Stephanie, weren't we? Like at my reunions, I'm like, yes, you guys were brutal. And I'd go home and cry and cry and cry. And but I don't know. I just love people, and people. I don't know. I feel like a good understanding of why people do what they do, because there might be something going on inside of their own life that they haven't been able to work through. So I have a big heart for that. And in fact, speaking of bullying, there's a Pink Thursdays. It's a nonprofit organization that brings awareness towards bullying, with people who bully and are being bullied, and it's an anti-racism kind of thing. So anytime I have time and energy to give to things like that, I try to. That's just a big part of who I am. It's my heart. So it just makes sense to me. That's why, like I said, when I like your posts, I'm like, you get it. You guys get out there. You can do anything you want. It's like, I just want to be a little cheerleader for people, because life's hard. It's beautiful. Right. It's a beautiful thing, but it's very difficult.
Indeed.
Well, let's thank you for that. Let's be in touch too. When I release this, I'll make sure to get a link to that.
Yes,
and put it in the show notes, things like that. You are out there. You are
Birdman. Wait, are we signing off? Because I got a couple of questions I want to fire at Stephanie. So
all right, let's go. Let's go on in 3 clubs. Let's go for it.
I mean, I was waiting for it to get called in. I didn't want to be impolite, since we're putting on air.
You're waiting your turn, all polite. Like, when do I get to talk? That's cute.
I was trying to be nice. All right, here we go. Got a couple. As the 3 of clubs, we either going to hit blackjack or we're going to go busto. It doesn't matter. We're just going to have fun with it. You ready?
Right. Okay.
All right. I'm acting like this is a thing. Like I do this all the time. I don't. This is the first time.
He does. Don't let him tease you. He does.
I'm doing my best to hide my nerves. Thankfully,
it's improv. It's improv.
You don't see my hands.
Do it.
All right. So, Stephanie, what was the hardest role for you to get into?
As far as the voiceover, yes, the hardest.
Overall.
My Gohan. When I first got cast, I was so unfamiliar with anything and everything that was going on, and I was showing up doing something completely different than I had ever done before, English dubbing and matching mouth flaps from a Japanese cartoon. And not only was I not acting like I am normally on stage or theater or performing and singing, I was also the voice of a boy. So you throw that into as a young boy. And I remember, I think it's just a lifelong thing. It's like I've just always wanted to make sure that I was doing a good job. And I would be extremely hard on myself growing up, like very, very hard on myself. I was constantly studying, had to make straight A's. So, and then when the self-esteem issues of trying out for the play and, and maybe not making it because I had this issue with breaking down the stage fright. So the hardest part for me was early in my career. Barry Watson was my director, and he was kind of a serious guy and kind of intimidating, and I just remember whenever I had to do my first cry, like really cry and get really, really emotional for a long period of time, I found that to be very, very difficult. And I got really nervous. And I think it's just because it was an unfamiliar territory. And it was the first time I was taking on a role like that, a 4 or 5 year old boy, and to really capture how he's going through turmoil and what it really sounds like, and to make it sound authentic and real, because it involved a lot of acting chops, which a lot of people think, oh, if you have a great voice, yeah, that's awesome, but you got to be able to channel your character through your voice and have it somehow come through the voice only, because you're not seen. So I think that's what it was. It was just that I was not familiar. It wasn't, you can tell me to go MC a show or to, be the karaoke instructor person, or whatever you call those people that come say, hey, we're going to sing karaoke, or you could put me on stage with a band and I might not even know the lyrics, but I could do it like in my sleep. But that moment was the first for me to do that. And then I knew that, well, if they don't like me, they might replace me, or I might not get to keep this job, So that one just stands out because it was a brand new, uncharted territory where I was really having to channel a lot of pain and suffering and crying. And it was this young boy that I was still trying to get to know, like the whole story as to who he is and what part and what role he is in the whole franchise, the whole show. That was hard.
Absolutely. And, to your point on well, to several of your points, we are three grown men on Steam Gentlemen, and we would not be able to act as a 4-year-old. So that speaks to your acting chops. And the beautiful thing about the Steam Gentlemen and you being on the show is, even though this is your first time on the show and hopefully one of many, it already feels like you've been part of the panel for a long time, because you're doing something we do all the time in every episode. You lead beautifully into the next question I have, which is, what is the hardest role that you had to walk away? Or let me back up. What was the role that was the hardest for you to walk away from? I got too excited. I was like, yeah.
You mean like one that was offered? Because
No, one that you had. Because the funny thing is, and this is the reason why I think it was a beautiful lead in, you nailed it. And I think listeners and everyone needs to understand this more and more. You are acting. You are a very talented individual. Yes, we get the gift of listening to you for the most part. And those who get to see you perform in your musical endeavors get to also see you emote. So we get to, people do get to see that. But there's no way for someone to just show up and just read lines. You are acting, you are emoting, you're putting so much into these characters that, as Greg and Josh alluded to, and any of your fans, I'm sure, in multiple different ways, and any sort of fan of the genre, the thing that people don't understand unless they're actively watching and care about different series or shows is that there is so much character building and emotion and passion and drive into it. Right. That, people get so hooked on it. And from the outside, it's just, people watching cartoons, but from the inside, people are so emotionally connected to not only the stories, but the characters. But I think all of us can agree that can only happen if there's good acting on the back end. You obviously have put your heart and soul into these characters throughout many shows. Let's be honest. Yeah, I think you're being a little modest. You are very, very talented, and you've done some things. So what was the role that was like you put so much in your soul and your heart into, that walking away was almost like you're hurting yourself?
Probably the teen. Well, I say teen. He's not really. I hear him called Teen Gohan. I can't believe that he's 11. It's like, I'm just a kid. I'm only 11. I always find that funny. Some of those lines that I had to say, and I'm like, I'm only 11 years. He's like, this is I hope I can say badass, because he just became. I had to just.
You haven't listened to the rest of our episodes.
I know you said something about language. I was on a show band with a bunch.
We knew we had a Southern lady coming on, and we were like, "All right, gentlemen, let's get it together. We will
keep it together." No, I have.
My entire family's from the South. You didn't have to tell me, man.
Yeah, no, I've hung around with so many guys in and out of different show bands, and the road crew. We had to ride with the road crew sometimes. I was 20 years old listening to stuff that I didn't even know existed. I was like, I feel like I've heard it all, but you're not going to offend me. But I think the word badass really kind of encompasses what that character had to be to do a good job, to be, to fight Cell and defeat Cell in the Cell games. So, I guess in a way I had to kind of say goodbye to him, because that was when they made the transition from me voicing Gohan to Kyle coming aboard and taking over. So then when Dragon Ball Z was happening after that, I was like, what am I going to do now? No, I had plenty to do, don't get me wrong, but I definitely, liked coming back and have little cameo roles, like I was a German English teacher once, and I was one of it was funny because in Goku and Dragon Ball was in a scene with this little lady, and I channeled my aunt up in Rhode Island. Oh, and she kind of had a voice up here like this. Goku, so, it was fun to come back and feel like I was still being utilized. And that's one thing right now, is that I'm ready to just dive into another project. So as soon as auditions come in, I'm going to be knocking them down. We'll see.
Right.
Kind of in transition right now, but doing lots of Comic Cons and really enjoying being out. And I'm sure everybody after the pandemic, they're just they're like coming back with a vengeance. Nice. Like the same weekend, there's like a million of them. It's like, which one do I get to pick? Where do I want to go?
I really do. I look forward to it. I want you to let us know. I think you're going to be, as you say, knocking it down. I think you'll be knocking it out of the park, in the next roles that come your way. I'm really looking forward to hearing you. And after getting to know you, looking forward to hearing those nice roles. You are out
Thank
there.
you.
You're hustling. I can tell it. Tell us the name of your socials so we can get that
Sure.
out there to the Steam people.
Absolutely. Super simple. I say simple. It's probably not because my name is kind of a little difficult, but it's just myname.com. So StephanieNadolny.com. So traditional spelling, Stephanie, NADOLNY.com. Hey. And then I've got Facebook. That'd be Stephanie Nadolny, voice actress. My band of my duo trio is Moonglass Band. That's on Facebook. I do have a lot of links that are on my website as well. And my business manager, bestie, bass player, engineer right here, Dan Bradford. He's literally my left, right, front, and back man friend.
Dan.
He's the one called
And the
Dan.
man.
Lieutenant Dan.
Dan, everybody.
But
Welcome to the show, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, you'd love him. You have to have him as a guest. I'm serious. You could
Sounds
leave
good
him
to
for
us.
that. He would be a fantastic. He's a production. Do I get it wrong every time? Salem Communications production director, which comes in handy when I need to do auditions. I've got him in my back
absolutely.
pocket, and if he needs a
Nice.
voiceover for radio or something he's got going on, we just make a nice scene. We're like a puzzle piece like this.
Love it, Dan. Thank you. Well, Dan, thanks for helping out here today. We really appreciate
What
it.
happened, Dan?
Instagram, sorry. Instagram is also just my name, Stephanie Nadolny. And I am on TikTok, and I'm having some fun with that because I get to be all silly and weird. It doesn't even matter what you do and why you're doing it. So it's perfect for me. It's at
It
Steph
really
Nadolny.
is.
Yeah, at
really
Stephanie
is.
Nadolny. So not the full name, but
Steph, not the
Steph.
full name.
Yeah.
Okay. Steph. Yo,
Yeah.
bro.
I got a kiddo helping me with that one because I've just been so busy traveling. I needed a little bit of
Word.
guidance. But now that I'm doing it, it's really fun. And now I just want to do more with my singing and incorporating some singing and music. And if you go to the website, there's a song I know we just had Halloween. It's called Halloween Rocks. It's on YouTube. It sounds like Goku singing the whole song as a little kid. And then I did one for Christmas called Kids Christmas. Wrote it, produced it. I wish I could say I played all the instruments on it. I did not. I had to get some help with that. But there's all kinds of fun stuff we're going to be adding on to the website. And there's a submission form. There's my email if anyone has any questions. I also do autographs through the mail.
Fantastic.
And stuff like that. Since, there's all kinds of ways to get people their autographs, even overseas if we need to work that out. This is kind of my full-time thing right now.
Greg just found a Christmas present for Joseph, his son. So we're happy with that right there.
Awesome.
All good right there. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. We'll be in touch. I'll make sure to get all these links on the show notes too, for anyone listening, so that they'll just have all the more access to it. While you're there, Steam people, if you don't mind shooting on over to Apple Podcasts and rating and reviewing the podcast, help us, climb on up those charts, help us get on in there. We're on socials at the Steam Gentleman Podcast on Facebook, and Do You Even Steam Bro on Instagram. We follow you on Instagram and on Facebook, Stephanie. And I saw you had a video of you playing Pac-Man, which just warmed my Generation X.
Oh
heart
my
the other
gosh,
day.
I grew up. That's a good place where I got to go to the Nickels and Dimes in Durant, Oklahoma, and that's where all we did was play video games and put those quarters in. And oh boy, I turned right back into a middle school kid at that appearance. It was actually a signing that I did at an arcade in Abilene. It was so retro. I loved it.
Love it.
So much. We were like, you kind of got to go now. I got to get home. And it was so hard to walk away from those games. It's like I wanted to play them all.
Go back to old school. Well, listen, we have loved this. You may come anytime you want to come on. You let us know. We are more than happy to have you come on and visit. This has been fantastic.
It's been so much fun.
So much fun. We thank you so much for getting out. We know there was we know you're very busy down there in Texas, but we're really, really glad to have you on here. Anytime. Like if the Rhode Island and Boston Comic-Cons are a bit smaller, but if you end up out this way, please let us know. We'll definitely come on down.
I am booked in July of next year in Rhode Island, and I'm excited because that's where my family, the Nadolnys, that's where all my distant family, they all still live up there. So
great.
I'm booked at the Rhode Island one through Altered Reality.
I went to college in Rhode Island. Good
You
Lord.
did?
I'm all over your tracks.
Yeah.
I
Greg grew
lived
up
in
in
Providence for a good 12 years.
Are
That's
you
right.
kidding? Wow. Yeah. And then I'm going to be also in Connecticut, November 18th and 19th for the ECCG. So you might want to check that out.
All right.
I don't remember the city. I know that I fly into Hartford. Stanford, Hartford.
Hartford.
So that's kind of up there too. But I have a lot of uncharted territory all up and around the areas that you're speaking of that I would absolutely love to be a guest if anybody wants to shoot the guest relations, any information that I'm, doing appearances all the time and say, let's bring her up for this one or that one. I sure would love to get up there. It's beautiful.
Well, we will do our humble best. We'll do whatever we can to help you make that possible. We're always happy to, bring people to the Northeast, try and stay away during the wintertime. That's about the only piece of advice we have for you.
Yeah.
We live through
and do what we can for Hartford.
Yeah. I do not envy your winters at all. It gets so hot here though, but it's like there's something everywhere you go. There's always going to be something: storms, cyclones, tornadoes, hurricanes, hot weather, cold weather, snowstorms. I mean, this is Mother Nature,
the world we live in. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on today. We love this. This was great. We're all very excited on this. We'll be in touch. I'll let you know when this episode drops, so you can take a listen. And we're gonna do the quicker sign off than we usually do this week, to kind of keep some things moving on our end here. But until next time, this is Josh the Birdman saying, keep your heat up and keep your head of steam on.
Yeah.